When I initially established the exercises, it was because I was working in countries where there was war and political violence. And so I naturally would call them trauma-releasing exercises because that was the experience of the populations that I was working with. Then when I brought these to, if you will, the Western world, what I discovered is they worked amazingly well for common everyday stress and anxiety. So once I had the opportunity of using these exercises within a general population where they basically had stress, tension, anxiety, particularly now from the global economic crisis we're having, or from experiences of everyday stress and anxiety of finances, difficulty with relationships, job tensions and strains, what I realized is that people who are simply having everyday stresses and strains found these exercises remarkably useful. So we can't no longer call them just trauma-releasing exercises because now they are really helping people in general everyday society reduce tremendous amounts of stress and tension that they have just from their common lives. Well, I even call them tension and trauma-releasing exercises, but they could be considered stress reduction exercises or exercises that bring about a sense of health and well-being in the individual. So you can use any name in terms of what you would call it. What we're looking at is what's the effect that it's having on the human being, and the effect is a general sense of well-being and relaxation and calmness. Tension and trauma-releasing exercises suggest that these exercises are valuable and useful for everything from minor tension and stress in the body to extreme trauma and anxiety in the body. They're a physiological response that naturally occurs in the body to reduce everything from mild tension to severe trauma reactions in the body. The most common result of people doing the tension and trauma-releasing exercises is very deep sleep. Now that's unusual for people to be able to achieve that state of deep relaxation and deep sleep. What I believe is happening in this is not only is it relaxing the body, meaning the physical structure of the human organism, at a deep level so that the tension in the muscles begins to relax, which begins to cause sleep. But it begins to change actually the neurophysiology of the body, meaning as the diaphragm and the psoas muscle relax and the trunk of the body goes into a deeper relaxed state, it actually begins to activate what's called the parasympathetic nervous system, which is our rest and digest part of the nervous system, which actually deliberately puts us to sleep. And so the physiology and the neural patterns that are associated with it actually come together through this tremoring or shaking mechanism that these exercises induce. The tension and trauma-releasing exercises are slightly different from other modalities, other exercise routines, etc., like Tai Chi, yoga, is that although you guide yourself through the exercises, at a certain point, what you do is simply let go into the body, and then the body begins to guide itself through a process. Through this mild tremoring response, it releases deep tension patterns in the body that are sometimes difficult to get through by other cognitive behavioral modalities. And so it releases some specific muscles such as the psoas muscle and the diaphragm muscle. Without your conscious effort to do so, the body begins to release it passively by itself, so that you are no longer directing the body is directing itself towards a state of relaxation. What people have consistently reported back to me when they do tension and trauma-releasing exercises, what they've said is they find that the other modalities, such as Pilates or yoga or Tai Chi or Qigong, they actually find them to be easier to give into them. They find their inner state to be more relaxed, and they find a greater deal of flexibility in terms of breathing and even stretching, so that they can actually find they are able to take up these modalities at a deeper level and an easier way of performing these other modalities. Many people will have different results from these exercises, and they're very specific to their own history in their bodies. In general, people will have a physiological and an emotional response after doing the exercises for the first time. However, when they continue to repeat these exercises, they generally have to do them for about 15 minutes or 20 minutes, and they begin to feel inside themselves a great sense of release and calmness happening. But the exercises themselves can be done anywhere from 5 minutes up to an hour, and that depends on the individual. The only time they would have to reduce or be cautioned by the exercises is if they begin to have a strong emotional discharge from the exercises, which would only result if it's releasing something that's a deep old pattern of tension or trauma in the body, or if they begin to feel themselves becoming fatigued from the exercises, because when the tremor mechanism occurs, it's the body activating itself at a very deep level, and it could cause a type of fatigue to occur. So they can do them for long periods of time or short periods of time and still find benefit from them. These tension and trauma releasing exercises actually have a progressive effect on the body, meaning they begin to relax the body at a deep level, and as you continue to do them, they relax deeper and deeper and deeper, and they actually make a permanent change in the physiology of the body rather than a temporary change. So they don't have to be repeated over and over like other modalities might need to be done to sustain themselves. They actually physiologically begin to change the patterns in the body of tension and actually allow the deep breathing and deep relaxation to become a permanent state in the individual. So it actually does cause permanent changes. The reason this is a great supplement or aid for other modalities, everything from counseling and therapy into other exercise routines or coaches, that sort of type of professional group, is that these help the human body bring itself back into a calm and what we would call centered or grounded state. And the more you can bring the body naturally to that state, then the easier it is to use these other modalities and find more effective results from these modalities, because the person is a more integrated person that can then access these other modalities at a deeper level. One of the difficulties we have in our society is people don't have time to do things. They don't have time for another exercise routine, etc. So what I've done is I've told a lot of people, once you've retrained your body to know how to evoke this shaking mechanism easily, you could use your regular workout routine if you jog or you hike or you bike or you do yogas or Pilates. After that routine, add 15 minutes of the last exercise of the tension and trauma releasing exercises, because that's what evokes the tremor mechanism the easiest. So you can actually lay on the floor and for 15 minutes do nothing but lay there and get a lot of deep relaxation by tremoring. And you could do this while you're watching TV, listening to music. You don't have to concentrate on the exercises. They work by themselves. So what I really try to get people to do is not add another routine into their life, because we don't have time for it, but actually take the time when you have it, when you're watching TV at nighttime and relaxing, or after you've put the children to sleep and you're just laying down listening to good music, add 15 minutes of tremoring into your body. It'll bring you right back into a really nice, calm, relaxed state, and you'll actually be able to feel the tension and anxiety you've picked up over the last few days just bring itself down into a very nice, relaxed state. For the sake of retraining the body to begin to evoke these tremors or shaking mechanisms easily so that they can continue to relax their body, initially I tell them do them about 15 minutes every day for about 10 days. And in that process is what we call retrainment, where the body is beginning to be retrained to learn how to evoke this mechanism easily anytime it feels stress or anxiety. After that initial training process, about every second or third day, people have picked up enough tension or anxiety from everyday life that they need to repeat the exercises to continue to down-regulate, if you will, or turn off their anxiety or their tension and go back into a nice, deep, calm state again. The tension and trauma releasing exercises aid you in your human development process. Now, some people need or have in their life spiritual direction or psychological counseling, or they might see a coach, or they do their exercises. This encompasses, in a sense, the totality of the human person. And so you have to do things for your mind and your body and for your spirit, if you have a spiritual dimension to yourself and that sort of thing. And the tension and trauma releasing exercises assist you as you continue the process of developing yourself in a holistic manner. What they do, however, is they seem to help encourage or make it easier to move in these other directions where you might find yourself becoming sluggish or tired and you kind of don't want to exercise or you don't want to talk to your therapist or whatever the issues may be. This kind of makes it easier to move in that direction because it brings you a sense of life and well-being and happiness right from inside your organism, right from inside the body, which makes you feel a little bit brighter and happier to go ahead and take up some of these other challenges that you might find a little bit more difficult to deal with. Well, one of the funniest things about the exercises is it actually causes the body to begin to kind of take over itself from what we call our ego, which is usually in control of our body. And so when people get these little bit of tremoring or quivering in their body, they feel them to be strange or unusual, and they find it a little bit odd. And what's delightful about it is that initially they find it strange or odd, and somewhat little bit scary to let go of the body and let the body begin to have its own way in terms of releasing itself from tension and anxiety. But usually that goes away in about a minute or two, because when the people feel this tremoring response, initially they might be frightened of it or feel it a little bit weird, but then what they do is discover this is really relaxing. I find this really kind of comforting to me. And so then they can get over that little hurdle of the strangeness of the exercises and usually give into it with a great deal of pleasure and comfort.